Hello, my Juicy Co-creators. Lilu here on the Juicy Living Tour. I'm in London today. Exciting to be sitting next to you, Olivia. Thank you for joining me. I mean, we're in your town, but somewhat you made it all the way here. Thank you.
It's really exciting to be here. Looking forward to seeing what unfolds.
Yes, because I know you're this businesswoman and you help those business leaders out there, and you're the author of Be Your Own Guru, and you're just passionate, I'm guessing, from what I've seen so far and what Manjir told me. But I would love to hear from you about the spiritual aspect, and really how can we unlock those spiritual gifts even in the business world, in our day-to-day life. But first, how do you define spirituality? So we're on the same path here.
Question. That's a very, very, very good question. I think for me, spirituality is actually about being completely juiced, as you would say. It's about being alive. It's about being in the moment. It's about being completely essential, allowing our essence to authentically come across. And to answer your other question, I think that business is a medium. So business is a medium for life. It's a business for our personal development, for how we can actually create the world that we all know in our heart of hearts, that we have a blueprint of how we can create heaven on earth, if you like. So it's beyond religion. It's beyond anything along those lines. It's just about being our true, authentic, whole, essential selves.
Do you feel that there's more and more people that want to be entrepreneur these days, and this goes hand in hand with really reclaiming our life?
I think you're absolutely right, because being an entrepreneur enables you to get really creative. It means that you can actually create some platform for yourself to be able to go out and bring all those gifts that are uniquely yours to the world, rather than working for someone else and living out somebody else's vision. If you're an entrepreneur, then you get to do all those amazing things yourself and then pull people together and create things that maybe you didn't even know that you were going to create when you started.
Your background is Indian. Did you grow up in India, or was it an heritage, or because spirituality is big in India? So I was wondering, you guys are born into this, and then for you it's natural, but
it's very interesting you say that, because no, I'm not Indian, although I went to India several times, and various people in India said to me, you must have been Indian in a past life, you look like you belong here. When I first landed in India, when I was flying in thinking, I don't know what this trip's going to be like, but this feels like I've come home. So it's probably no accident that my book was Be Your Own Guru. And what was fabulous was I got to launch it in India as well. Yeah. So I was in the Hindustani Times as Guru Comes to India, which I thought was kind of great, because usually it's the other way around, isn't it? Yeah. So I think spirituality, absolutely, maybe the home from it is in India, but I think we're starting to adopt all of those things over here as well now, and it's a great place to be.
What is your view on guru? Is that a teacher? Is there some other connotation?
I think the word guru comes down from sort of dark and finding the light. So I think gu is the word for the dark, and then the ru is finding the light from that. And often it's about going into our shadow side that enables us, the dirty side that we try and sort of hide. But there actually is where our unique gifts are as well. So if we can kind of integrate both sides of who we are, the light and the dark, then we become fully launched, and then we're able to do some amazing things.
So how can we kind of dissect, if that's disséquer in French? Yeah. As for an entrepreneur, there is some ambitions, there is some want to succeed, some other to contribute. I mean, there is all those things that we would love. So how do you deal, and how can you be really in touch with the shadow aspect so we can transform that and bring it to the light?
I think the first aspect is to see, it's almost to be authentic with ourselves and to be honest with ourselves, to look at those things that maybe we've tried to push aside and be in denial of, to look at those things that perhaps we've had arguments with people in the past, or to investigate our own backgrounds, because very often we end up repeating the past and projecting it into the future and then just living the same old thing over and over again. So I think we have to investigate and dissect, but investigate those areas so that we can look at what isn't working, because our lives become a pattern, don't they? So if we look at the patterns that we're not very comfortable with, let's go right back to the core, find out what it was that started that, and then just jump off that fractal pattern, if you like, and then jump onto something else by creating it through intention, through the power of the mind.
So you're saying it's kind of like in a personal relationship where we break up and we don't even take the time to heal and we jump right back into another one. In business, it's the same.
Absolutely, it's the same. And I think business comes down to relationships anyway. I've never met a business yet that doesn't have people in it. So, successful companies employ successful individuals, get the individuals right, help them to let go of any baggage, which is what I do, emotional baggage, and then help them to move on into working out their own personal goals, what makes them feel really juiced, then align those goals with those of their employer or with their business, and then the magic really starts to happen.
The term co-creation is one that I used a lot on a personal level, but I see it's more kind of written. I mean, you see it in Wikipedia, for example, as really working all together, all of us, the employees and also the distributors and the vendors. I mean, everybody really collaborating. Is that what makes a successful business now?
I think it is, and I think it's about people get really excited and buzzed and juiced by something that's bigger than themselves. So it's not just about let's go and make some money, although that's important, but how can we create something that's going to be really powerful, so we're creating a win-win-win, a win for ourselves, a win for everybody that's got a stakeholding in the company or the organization, but also a win for the client. And I would also say let's have another win as well, so that we're actually creating humanity, or giving humanity what humanity actually needs. So I really believe that we should be able to look at humanity powered by business. That'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it?
How can we know we're in front of the truth when there's really something we're supposed to do?
That's a great question. I think you find that it just resonates. And I think you also know when you're in front of something that isn't quite the truth, because it sort of makes you want to push it away. Somehow it just feels not quite right. But then when something really resonates, you know it in your heart. And our minds and our hearts can often do something different. So our mind tends to go back to the past patterns, whereas our heart just gets it and knows.
Is it possible that now, because coming from a background of business studies and all that, I mean, I see now these days I don't apply any of that stuff anymore, the goal setting and the marketing plan, and this sounds so rigid and so, there's so many things happening, and life seems to have even better, greater solutions for us. Is that also part of some of the coaching?
I think you're absolutely right. And I think when to go back to your point about spiritual intelligence as well, I think if we're co-creating, yes, we're co-creating with everybody in business, all the stakeholders, suppliers, and also our clients, but there's also some other part of us that we're co-creating with as well. It's the soul element, if you like. So if we can kind of tap into that, move out of our just being with our heads, but moving into our intuitive side, and then tapping into that bigger picture. And our soul has a much bigger picture for us than we would dare believe possible. So when we get out of our own way, then we start to make some amazing magic.
So let's get into the techniques. Do you have some particular little tricks or techniques or things to do to open the spiritual side of ourselves to be guided in business?
I think one of them is to stop thinking sometimes. That would be a good start, wouldn't it? But to take some time out and just to focus on the bigger picture and to ask yourself some great questions. I think both of us have a kind of a journalistic background as well. And I think one of the best questions I come across is, how could I, if this is the vision that I've got, let's start from the outcome, what we want to create, and then how could we do this? How could we create the best outcome, the best world that we know that we can, bringing our own gifts to it. So I think that's a really good start. I think also we keep ourselves small. We often fear those things that we think might make us stand above the parapet. People might laugh at us, and often they do when we start down this path as well. And then a bit later on, everybody says, yeah, you're absolutely right, weren't you? But as we're starting out, we have to, I suppose, get a little bit tougher, a little bit stronger than, this is my path, this is my direction. And if people don't like it, maybe that's a great sign that I'm on the right path, if everything's resonating and starting to flow. But I think we also then need to look at our own lives and examine them and see what hasn't worked, as I said before, about the patterns. And maybe sometimes we need to just let go, to forgive. And forgiveness is a whole sort of big thing, really, isn't it? So we don't always feel like forgiving, but as you said, mentioned about being in a relationship, if there's been some heartache somewhere, then forgiving enables us to let go. And then we go through that process of accepting as it was, learning the lessons from it. Then you get to a point of gratitude because you realize how much you've learned. And then, of course, you discover there was nothing to forgive in the first place. But I think from an ego point of view, we need to go through that process. And then looking back, we realize that everything is perfect just as it was.
When we create alone, we feel limited. When we create with others, sometimes they annoy us. You know, we try to apply those principles, the success principles, and then we stop at the first little challenge, you know?
Well, that's, I think, one of the keys then, the great technique is to choose who you work with very carefully. Because I think if you have a joint vision for how things can be, then everybody's going in the same direction, which doesn't mean that we all have to be the same. But if you and I may work at something very differently, but if our vision's the same, then we can afford to go, I don't know why you're saying that, but I know you want to get to the same place as me. I can listen, rather than people being negative for the sake of just shooting somebody down. And we have a lot of people that are very good at shooting people down. So I think it is about spending your time with like-minded, positive people who support you and who are really, really happy to be encouraging for you to live out your best, biggest possibilities.
And moving forward, when we have those challenges and the for example, it's not going, or it's stagnant, or it's not opening up, or it's going downhill, what are some of the things that you would advise someone?
I think it's about taking stock, isn't it? So sometimes you just stop. Why is it not working? Is it because I'm overtired? I don't know about you, but if I get overtired, then I can get really cranky really quickly. So I know that sometimes I just have to take time to look out for myself first, get the sleep I need, refresh my vision, remind myself of what it is that I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and get really kind of reignited and re-excited about it. And maybe spend some time in meditation or contemplation or thinking or whatever it is that you do to get into that bigger space where you can see all the possibilities. And also to know that sometimes things don't always work out the way that our little minds think that they should, but there is a bigger plan perhaps that's unfolding, and it's around timing. And maybe it's about patience. I'm still learning that one, but but sometimes things just roll out as they're going to.
Part of the title of the book is In Just 3 Days. My God, in 3 days. Why 3 days?
3 days, because I was told by the publisher people like to have things in sections. So I thought, okay, if people need to be able to feel that it's doable, it follows a true life story of some work that I did with one of the high street banks. So the training itself was delivered in 3 days, but of course it takes a lifetime or even lifetimes to go through that whole enlightenment process. We're all works in progress. Yeah. We're all sometimes great at some things and not at other things, and that's the beauty and the fun of it all.
Uh-huh. So in 3 days, what would be the kind of the path?
Well, the path that I tend to work with in companies is to help people to go through one personal one-to-one session with me, which we go through all sorts of things, which might be about goal setting, as you say, just about aligning people's goals with what they really want to do, with what their passions are. But more often than not, it's about helping them to let go of some emotional baggage. And what's amazing is when they let go of it, you can almost see people coming alive, and it's as if they've got another bit of juice factor, if you like, to be able to get on and move forward. So that's the first session. Then after that, I do some sort of development training around the kind of leadership, personal leadership. If we can understand ourselves and what makes us tick, then we've got some chance of understanding other people. So we do go into some of the emotional values that we have, the beliefs that we have, our past patterns, how we need to perhaps let go of some of those things to be able to bring our intention in, to be moving forward. And then I also look at how we can have superior communication skills with others, so that we're talking not just about the mundane stuff, but also about those higher level things, which sometimes come across more from an intuitive body language and all those sort of energetic things, rather than just the words that people are using.
Tell us, yeah, this is fabulous. I mean, I'm excited. What are some of the other things that you would like to add to this conversation for really people to start to be their own guru?
I think the first belief is that I can. I can do it. It's not for other people to tell me what's possible. It's to recognize that we're all works in progress. Wherever you are, start from here, and just go for it. It's a journey. It's fun. It's about...
It's playful.
It's playful, exactly. And I think it's very easy for things to get very heavy and very, it's very serious. And actually, what's the point? The more fun you have, the more laughter that you have, life becomes so much easier anyway. And then I think we attract people to us who are also like that. So, hey, let's attract some fun people to us would make sense. And I think there is nothing to stop any of us. It doesn't have to be heavy religion. It doesn't have to be other people's belief systems. This is the point where we get to awaken to the true calling of who we are. And people get that awakening at different times.
Yeah, I have a last little question regarding your own journey, you know, switching from being a journalist to this businesswoman. How did this all happen, and how was your spiritual awakening?
You ask some good questions, don't you? As a journalist, I'm used to asking the questions. So, well, I always wanted to be a journalist. As a child, I grew up wanting to be a journalist. I thought it'd be fascinating to see what people do in different, in sort of all sorts of different businesses and different sort of aspects of the world, really. So that was great. I ended up doing precisely that. In terms of a spiritual awakening, I always had an interest in the things beyond what we could see. But I think probably as I was growing up, and certainly probably for many people, it was something that was a bit sort of frowned upon. So I think I probably grew up thinking I was a little bit strange. So I learned to keep a lot of stuff internally and then just sort of live with the world as it was. And then I went on to own a couple of business magazines in the south of England, and I got to interview great people like Sir Richard Branson and other people, but also smaller local businesses. And I just began to see what was making some people successful and some people not. And then I trained in neurolinguistic programming and hypnotherapy and all sorts of different things, and then which coincided with me moving up to the northwest. And then I thought it'd be really good to maybe come out as a hypnotherapist. So that's what I did. And then somebody said to me, oh, we need somebody to run a sales course. You'd be really good at it. How hard can that be? So I put together a sales course of what I thought I would have wanted to learn, particularly as I realized the people who they wanted to sell in this particular business didn't like salespeople. So why would we run a sales program? Let's make it a leadership program. And then it kind of developed from there, and then I kept proving it. And then the book is what I'm talking about with a bank, and they improved their sales results by 330% just by getting this emotional and spiritual concept. So it's kind of good stuff, and it works.
So it's like unlocking the real potential.
Yeah, absolutely. And letting go of all those things that keep us small. It's those beliefs that we were told at, at school. Oh, you'll never amount to anything, or you're no good at this, or you're no good at that. We tend to take those in, and then almost our synapses and our brains start following that particular groove. So we have to let that go, which is often quite hard because that's our identity. So our ego has become a product of who we've been. But then I think our soul call is the potential of who we can become. So it's as easy as that, but it can often take a long time in the doing of it as well.
Yeah, that reminds me of Oprah interviewing J.K. Rowling, or even Oprah speaking of her own path when she could feel, she had a deep belief inside that something was going to happen and will happen anyway. It's like we all have that kind of thing in us, and though nothing in our reality shows us that this is actually possible, but there is something in each of us, I think, that is really there, a knowing.
Absolutely agree with you. And it's so easy to try and shut it down because it's often the thing that makes us feel that we don't fit in. And as human beings, we're almost that kind of herd mentality, aren't we? So we want to fit in because that keeps us safe. That's what the subconscious mind wants. There's something in us calling out, saying, exactly as you say, there's something bigger for you. It's about being unique. It's about pulling together often those things in our past that start weaving together to create a whole new tapestry that is your unique gift. And I think the biggest thing is to be able to let go of that need to fit in and be prepared to stand up and stand out.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for this delicious interview. I really enjoyed this, Olivia.
Me too. Thank you. Want to play again?
Let's play. Well, I encourage all the beautiful co-creators watching this video to go and play, because there's a big playground out there. We'll probably see you and meet you very soon out there in one of those countries or cities or on the internet. Gosh, it's juicy.
It is certainly juicy. Let's go and get juiced.
Thank you. Big, big kisses. Much love. Bye. really how can we unlock those spiritual gifts even in the business world, in our day-to-day life. But first, how do you define spirituality, so we're on the same path here?
Question. That's a very, very, very good question. I think for me, spirituality is actually about being completely juiced, as you would say. It's about being alive. It's about being in the moment. It's about being completely essential, allowing our essence to authentically come across. And to answer your other question, I think that business is a medium. So business is a medium for life. It's a business for our personal development, for how we can actually create the world that we all know in our heart of hearts, that we have a blueprint of how we can create heaven on earth, if you like. So it's beyond religion. It's beyond anything along those lines. It's just about being our true, authentic, whole, essential selves.
Do you feel that there's more and more people that want to be entrepreneur these days, and this goes hand in hand with really reclaiming our life?
I think you're absolutely right, because being an entrepreneur enables you to get really creative. It means that you can actually create some platform for yourself to be able to go out and bring all those gifts that are uniquely yours to the world, rather than working for someone else and living out somebody else's vision. If you're an entrepreneur, then you get to do all those amazing things yourself and then pull people together and create things that maybe you didn't even know that you were going to create when you started.
Your background is Indian. Did you? Hello, my Juicy Co-Creators. Lilu here on the Juicy Living Tour. I'm in London today. Exciting to be sitting next to you, Olivia. Thank you for joining me. I mean, we're in your town, but somewhat you made it all the way here. Thank you.
It's really exciting to be here. Looking forward to seeing what unfolds.
Yes, because I know you're this businesswoman and you help those business leaders out there, and you're the author of Be Your Own Guru, and you're just passionate, I'm guessing, from what I've seen so far and what Manjir told me. But I would love to hear from you about the spiritual aspect